Hello, 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 and welcome to Survivor Debrief. My name's Eden Porter, the lucky loser from Survivor Titans vs. Rebels. And with me, as always, is my comedic partner and real-life brother, Joshua Pater.
Just Joshua Porter's fine.
Okay, that's fine.
Don't need to French it up.
But maybe I'll get into... my liege, as you come here in very Jeff Probst style, I humbly bring this podcast to you.
Yes, do a Shakespeare bit. That's great.
I
love the massive leap he went from I'm pretending to be I'm Shakespeare treading the boards. It's so weird.
No, but he referenced Shakespeare in the Park as well.
That's right. It's very specific, wasn't it?
I think Jeff is angling for some sort of but soft, what light through yonder window breaks. Caveat. Good on you, Jeff.
He's trying to secure his future as Survivor wraps up.
He is. Welcome. Big episode, Josh. Big episode.
It's great.
One big thing that came back, the auction.
The auction, and everyone lost their minds about the auction.
Yeah. So do you, maybe you missed a bit, but the auction hasn't been around for a while.
Oh, okay. Because I was
yeah.
All right, calm down, everyone.
So they brought it back in 45, which is 2 seasons ago. But before that, they hadn't done it since 30. Since Survivor, since Worlds Apart, and that's because they broke the auction. They all got together. The players broke the auction. They were talking to each other. They were like, okay, so if it's the loved ones' letters, then everyone bet $5, and if we all bet the same amount, Jeff usually lets you all get it. And then other people are saying everyone just bid on one thing really low and get that, so we can make sure we move. And everyone was like. Gaming the system, and Jeff went nuts. Jeff, there's a historical precedent of Jeff losing his absolute shit in auctions. There's a story of him where people were trying to collude and things like that, and Jeff's just I'm just going to cover every item then, and you're not going to know, and then I'm just going to stop it. And if you guys are playing, he really went nuts at everyone. It was crazy. But
I'm with you. I'm with Jeff. Guys, you're doing a TV show. Just play the game.
The other thing that ruined the auction was they started putting advantages in the auction, and then everyone just held on to their money.
Waited for that.
And just going, well, I'm just going to wait, and then I'm going to bid my 500 on that.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Traditionally, there would be the couple of holdouts who would I really desperately need it. So I'm definitely just going to save my money for that, which I didn't dislike because it also was a bit of a totem pole thing because you got to be I think I'm on the bottom. Yeah. I'm just going to do this. Whereas the other people are I'm super safe. I'm going to buy the food. Haha, we're having such a good time.
Ha 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 ha. Yeah.
What did you make of the format?
So this is the same. This is a new era. Yeah, this is the new era. So they did it in 45, and now they're done in 47. This is the new era. So you've got to get your money from the tubes, which I think is a cool, fun element.
Little Easter egg hunt. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I really like that. You know who's good at Easter egg hunts? Sierra has been doing Easter egg hunts for years. Josh,
you know what? Here's a question: When Andy's walking around with you, going oh geez, I can't find anything. Do you help Andy?
I would help
Andy get one.
So you would give Andy one?
I would. I don't know if I'd give him one, but I might lead the horse to water and hope to God he drinks. Just to be maybe look over here, Andy.
No, I think no. If you're going to help him, you want to take credit for the help. You want to go, mate. Just take one, so you got something.
I think I would give him one. If he's dying and not finding any, just give him one.
Even if you were dying of thirst, I wouldn't give you a sip of water, Andy. This is even Genevieve had that one. And just grabbed it from straight behind him.
I know.
But how much is that? That was ridiculous. The editors and the cameraman were loving it. He was literally walking past.
I don't know what was going on.
After thing. That was so weird. That was honestly so weird.
It was almost like he wasn't looking. He was walking expecting to see it rather than actually looking around him. Very strange.
I think he manifested himself going I can't do it. I can't find these things. I can't see them. And he was literally,
Andy.
It was literally Andy blindness, I'm calling it.
Yes, it was.
It was ridiculous. So anything else for the start in terms of the rules of the auction?
Well, so just so I'm clear, so he pulled out a number that was it's going to be a random number of items between 5 and 15 or something.
So guaranteed 5.
Why are they introducing that? Why don't they just say it's between 5 and 15?
Oh, so they want people to know that there's at least going to be 5 items to bid on.
Yeah.
So get them. They want a bidding war. They want people to bid. So get those 5 items. And then anything after that, it's you better bid. All of these things have been put in place to make people bid because they didn't want people holding onto the money to try and
what I really liked. 2 things I really liked is people having different amounts of money.
Yep.
So like instead of just having the same thing where people just max out and you're like, I'm done, it makes it a bit more dynamic.
Yep.
And then also, that the holding your money at the end, you lose your vote. I like that. Because again, it makes people spend their money. But my question to you is there any strategy to the auction, or do you just go, it's a roll of the dice, whatever, just maximum bid, get whatever
I think in the new auction, right, I think you get something early. So basically you play it like Sol did. Sol got 2 items. That's the best you're going to do. You just go early, get something cheap. I can't believe Sarah's sitting there with $1,000 and Jeff goes $60 for the first person and she just doesn't instantly go, yep, $60. That's nothing to her. But anyway, Sol played it right. You get something there and then you spend all your money. It's better just spend all your money on one item and just get it, lock it in, you have it, and then you just move on.
Keep your vote.
Yeah, keep your vote, lock it in. I think that's the tactic. Jeff, I was very disappointed in Jeff. When there was guacamole, he didn't say get a fat dip of that guac. That's like a Jeff guy. He goes, to Woo. He's like, get a fat dip of that guac. That's like a classic line.
They really tucked into the peanut butter, did they? My favorite thing about the auction though is everything becomes a Survivor X. So it's like, it's a Survivor burrito. It's a Survivor burger.
Oh, did you know a really funny little thing when they were mentioning the Survivor outwit, outplay, out breakfast sunrise spectacular?
Yeah, I know, right?
And then he started saying, now there's actually rules with this one where this person has to do this. And Teeny is at the back nodding. Like she's going, yep. And I'm like, Teeny, you have no idea what this is. Like, I love Teeny, but she just did that. Yeah. Oh, they're doing the Survivor Outback Breakfast Spectacular thing again. I'm like, no, Teeny, this is new. The classic, the bringing back the grubs. I like that's the classic grubs. Because they don't do the gross food challenge anymore. They sort of gave it, and I think that's probably for health and safety reasons. Do you remember?
It feels like a bygone thing, like because it feels like a kind of early reality TV kind of trope.
Because they were doing it where Jeff would blend items together like brains and like seaweed and stuff, and then you would have to drink it was foul. So this is a nice.
How would you go with the grub?
I would never be able to do this. I was going to say I couldn't do this. Then no, I cannot do gross food. I cannot do it. Like
you'd be a bit of a Sue, would you? Just really not getting it in your mouth.
I'd be a bit of a Sue. If I had $1 for every time someone said I'm a bit of a Sue,
and I'm dribbling food at a restaurant out of my mouth. Oh, he's doing a Sue again.
What do you think about Sam? Won't eat watermelon, loves a grub.
You're so stoked as well. That would have been great if the mystery food is like a bit of pineapple.
Yeah. And he's just like, what is this? What is this, man? But having the chocolate and peanut butter, that goes back to like the classic is Jenna and Heidi from Amazon, where they're like, I'll get naked
fantasizing about it,
and all that stuff. So they're putting in all the classics. I feel like they're putting back these classics for the Survivor fans. But I thought
it seems good. Like, and as Gabe alluded to at the end of the episode, the whole putting your swords down, it really did feel like everyone was leaning into the auction.
Yes.
Like the way they're eating the food and shoving it in their mouth. And Jeff's like, yes.
The time thing, giving them a time limit to eat stuff really quickly is another classic sort of. He basically putting all the big hits in there. But what was really good is hiding the advantage in the food. I think that's the best way to do an advantage at the auction.
Well, that was in your season, wasn't it?
Yeah. Ray got the challenge in the popcorn. My popcorn. Yeah. So I think that's a good way to do it. I think again, America has learnt from Australia. Thank you very much.
I thought it was really good and quite entertaining and worked well, and everyone was spending their money, which is what you want. But you still don't really have like a proper bidding war. Because it's no one ever wants to spend the least amount with that new caveat. It's like, well, I'll just use all my money in once. And so you kind of lose that element of like 30, 40, 70, 80.
Yeah, you lose that. But I think the thing is, for a TV perspective, I think it's more fun watching people eat stuff hilariously and being like, oh my God, I love this. Like, I think that's where it's at. They didn't do letters from home.
That's the choice. You're choosing between hilarious eating versus serious bidding war. And you go for hilarious eating. Okay,
I think they go for hilarious eating. I think they go for hilarious eating, mate. I think that's where it's at. So the auction was fun and I really liked it. And they should bring it back every season. I think the auction is always a fun addition. Now, just to go back a little bit, can we just touch on the Sol reveal from last episode? So Sol told Rachel that he was the again. I I thought keep it under your hat for a bit longer. Like, how cool would that be if he got to final tribal council and he just dropped that, like, and by the way, I'm the one that saved Rachel, that set all this stuff in motion and everything. Like, that would be cool because once you tell Rachel that, you cannot control who Rachel tells.
Yeah, but you're clearly using it in a way that you think that you're going to build
a relationship,
support, and there's going to be something there. So I think he's presuming, based on their interactions so far, that he can move forward with her. So I feel that that's why I like the play of revealing it, like, let's just keep it between us, but I just want to let you know. And Rachel seemed to take it wholeheartedly. Like, I've got this guy looking out for me who's proved, like, more so than a vote. He's really proved to me that he wants me in the game rather than, well, he's going to vote with me. It's like, it's a pretty sure shot that this guy definitely wants to work with me because he's kept me in the game.
Sure. And what do you think of the alliance name Soul's Secret Agents? Where's that ranking? Where's that ranking on the SSA? Where's that ranking on all-time Survivor?
It depends how many secret agents he could get. If it's just Rachel at the moment, I don't know.
It's
just more agents.
It's not very
Soul Secret Agent. That's just one.
By the way, I'm loving Soul. We're on the Soul. We're on the Soul train, mate. We are on the Soul train. All aboard. Absolutely. It's so good. He's so good. He's so humble. He's so awesome. I just love everything about him.
Yeah, and like Kyle was sort of alluding to, like, I think Soul's like my favorite guy out here. Like, he seemed like he's always been really nice and fun and friendly, and he's kind of just worked himself in this position where he now has a little bit of power he can play with. He's not on the bottom so much anymore, and it's good to finally see him, like, kind of just put his head down and race through the pre-merge.
Yeah.
And now he's getting into it a bit better.
And he's dropping the wax on, wax off. He's dropping the movie quotes. He's doing the right thing.
He's doing what I suggested.
So he's getting connections there, which is really good. And I love the they set some seeds there with Sam talking to Rachel about like, I forgot about Andy sort of thing. Like, I forgot about Andy too. Which I think, like,
do you want to get into Andy stuff?
Let's get it. Should we get into Andy stuff? Should we get into it?
So I really love this whole idea of, we're just pulling Andy, we're dragging Andy along, all this kind of stuff. And Andy is so wise to it. And it's so great to see someone in that position just to be so switched on enough to be like, no, I know exactly what they think of me. I know exactly what's going on. Yeah. And then, like, calling it. And like, it's just awesome to see, and also keeping it such a secret from them. And they're so blindly thinking, hey, this is a guy we met day 1, 2, 3 was a bit of a wreck, but he's really, really come through it. It's like, it's quite lovely to see Andy blossom in a way this season, because he could have gone week 1. Yeah. Well, you know what I mean? Like, he could have gone week and be like, he's done. But no, he's awesome.
He's such an odd player, though, because he can go from the auction looking for those things where he just can't do it. He can't do it. He can't see it. And then he starts panicking and he starts getting insecure and he's like, I can't do this. I can't, like, what's happening? And then he goes from that to a confessional where he's like, I know they think I'm a goat. I know that this is happening. I'm going to come back. I'm going to do this. It's just, that's in the same episode that he can bounce between those two things.
And then he had the whole glasses off, hair down. Hair up,
glasses off, lights off, lights
out.
Good. But honestly, I thought that was a little contrived. That getting him to walk and do the slow-mo and stuff, I actually was like, producers, you don't need to do that. In his confessional, he can just do it. But then you can tell them going, hey, Andy, you know, it'd be great if you, like, walk down here and do the big hair thing. And so
I don't mind it. It's just a little silly joke. It's certainly not organic, Yeah,
it's not organic. That's the word I was looking for. Can I just say this, though? Sierra's alliance management is terrible, okay?
Mm-hmm.
She was not engaging with Andy on, like, a sort of a deeper connection level. He wasn't really taking part. She was dismissive all the time. But in saying that, however, she didn't want to keep Andy. Sam wanted to keep Andy. So I think it's Sam's responsibility to make sure Andy feels safe and included and involved. And I actually think the onus is on Sam, because Sierra would have loved the girls to stay there and they could have moved forward together as a unit. And they probably would have been a lot more loyal to each other. Yeah, the breadwinners.
They would have won a lot more bread.
Yeah, they would.
At the auction.
So much bread. Exactly. Literally winning bread. And so I actually think the stick of doom goes to Sam for not keeping Andy in the loop and feeling strong.
Well, because that's a really good point, because Sam was sort of so confident that I've got Andy wrapped around my little finger. He's my bro. Like, we've got this. It's super fine. But it does not seem that fire has been stoked and it's just been left to burn out.
Yep, there's 100%. It's not. He's not gone back there, going, man. You and me, still all the way. When you say things to other people like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about Andy," or "Oh yeah, we're just bringing Andy along," those things, even though you're saying to other people, they sort of permeate through how you interact with people and how people see you interacting with them, and it just soaks through. You might not say it to Andy, but it soaks through, and people pick up on these social cues. Man.
Well, one line that really stuck out to me that Sam said during the tribal was he mentioned himself being a shepherd.
Yeah, see, that's
and the
terrible.
idea of
and
like that's where he thinks he is in this game. I'm the shepherd guiding these people through, and I was like, don't get ahead of yourself, mate.
The other thing I thought was interesting as well, Sierra said to Andy, "Oh, this is what we're doing tonight." Like she literally said to him, "It's going to be like this person." She didn't have a conversation with him because Andy came to her and said, "Oh, I've had a bad morning and all this sort of stuff," and she was like, "Yeah, it's going to be this person, whatever." And it was just so dismissive. And you always ask someone, "Hey, what do you think? Like, which way are you leaning? What do you want to do? What's your vibe?" Because just throwing a name at someone like that just shows such a total disrespect for them approaching the game. And it just makes me think,
this makes me think of you and Jaden and your discussions with Jaden.
Well, yeah. Well, I was.
What do you want to do?
Yeah, exactly. All the time, it was like, so how you want to move forward in the game? Who do you want to go after? What are you like thinking?
Yeah.
And having those conversations with someone to make them feel like included. In that case, didn't really work out. I don't care, man. He was just like, "Oh, I don't care, whatever." And I'm like, no. This is me playing Survivor correctly. This is what I should be doing. Right. You got to give me something, man.
It is interesting though, like this idea of who are the people you feel you can talk strategy with, and you hear like iron sharpens iron, that kind of thing. And my favorite moment of that in this episode was my two picks was Caroline and Genevieve having a moment.
Dude, yes.
Where I was loving where Genevieve straight away, when those plans came out, Genevieve's like, no, that's not the best thing for me. Let's work something out better. And then Caroline, both her being like, no, we're not just going to go along with what the sort of first plan was, the Garda plan. We know what we actually want to do, what's going to be best for us, and we're going to make that happen. So that's a big difference. Some of those players of like, well, I'll kind of see what happens and this feels okay versus like, no, we got to swap this and we got to do it tactfully. And then Teeny's efforts of, well, I don't want it to be, she wanted to keep Sierra, right?
She wanted to keep Sierra, yeah.
And put it on Sam. So one thing I did want to ask you, if you're in Teeny's position there and you want to get the vote onto Sam off Sierra, how are you approaching that?
Okay, so there's a couple of things there. One is Teeny. I feel bad for Teeny because she does seem like on the out, she doesn't have that same level of social capital. She can't really convince people to go her way. So but she is worried about sticking her head out too much because she knows if she puts her foot down and says, "No, we're not doing this," she becomes a target. So she's self-aware in that regard. I think she pivoted. She realized she couldn't get it on Tuku, right? So she realized that the others are not going to go to Tuku. So she's like, okay, well, what's my next best option is to get it off Sierra onto Sam at that point. So I thought that was good. I think you need, if you really want to get Sam, you got to do two things. You got to, one, play up his challenge prowess, and two, you've got to say, you've got to say, okay, get into Andy's ear and be like, Sam's the one that's been throwing your name out there. Sam's the one that's been throwing you the bus. Imagine getting one over on Sam. Like, how good would that be? I feel like on the other side of this, Sierra's going to be sort of lost and we're going to be able to sort of work with her bet. I think Sam will go like salt the earth. He'll go crazy. No one's going to, like, he's just going to be out for blood. Whereas Sierra, I think she'll come back and we can maybe work with her and moving forward in the future. Do
you get a sense of how far you can push that before you come?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
You just feel it, do you?
You put it out there, and then if no one picks it up, you've just got to leave it or reconfigure with someone else. Well, because what's going to happen? You need to get, for those sort of conversations, right? You need to get people one-on-one. And you need to convince one person. So then when you go back to a group, you've got someone else backing you up going like, yeah, I agree with Teeny. I think that's a really good idea. Yeah. If you're in a group and no one's picking it up, you need to break off. This is like team building. You need to break off into smaller groups, get someone on your side, and then come back and have them second. Because if no one's seconding you, then you're dead in the water at that point.
Well, it kind of reminded me a bit of Asia at the start of the season, where I can't remember what her choice was, but she was just gun-ho and like, no, we should do this. And I was like, we'll just get rid of you then.
Yeah. Well, no, it was between, they were like, it was going to be Soul, wasn't it?
I think so. Yeah, she was trying to put it off Sol or something.
Yeah, because Sol was like, and it's like, mate, if it's not Sol, it's you, and it was her at the end of the day. Other things.
There was the other Rachel finding the idol in the tarp was crazy.
Yes, like that was great. Love that.
That was remarkable. Being like picking her moment so well to be like, I think I can do it. It is. I was shocked that she managed to get away with it cleanly, with everyone sitting around the camp. It's exactly what you want from that moment, right? She managed to do
That's what the show wants. They want you like sneaking back and do that. The other conversation, and you mentioned a little bit before, but I don't think we touched on like Jen putting the seeds out there and then Caro marking Jen as it was like a light bulb went off. She was like, oh, Jen is playing the exact same game as me. She's planting seeds.
She's identified the same people.
She's identified the same threats. They both said like Rachel's actually the one that's going to sneak through. I like the term sneaky, like a sneaky threat, like sneaky dangerous. They're the people that get through the end that take your spot. So and suddenly, so this is Caro's eyes are now open to Jen. I feel like being a game player, which is very interesting. And so there's this sort of like level of awareness between them both now, which is really good.
I get a real sense from when we see Jen's confessionals of like in the moment conversations, she'll be like, she's very convincing on, yep, that sounds great, whatever. And then it's like, no. What I actually want to happen is this, and now I'm going to make that happen. Yep. So it seems like she's positioned herself really well in amongst her tribe mates, I think.
Anything on the challenge, the bodyweight challenge?
I don't know. There's not much strategy to this, is there? It's just like, surely it's just the sweat. Like that just
sweat on hands and body weight's interesting because it sort of makes it fair, but we did one that had body weight attached to it and I was terrible at it because I'm tall and so I've got a little bit of weight because of my height, and so my sort of strength ratio is off. So when it was a generic weight, I did okay. When it was based on my body weight, because I don't have like the upper body strength or the lower body strength, any body strength at all.
No upper, no lower, no middle, just hollow.
It's all up here. That I found that really hard to hold my own like percentage of body weight. So unless you like obviously working out, a lot of these guys were. It is a tricky one, especially for really strong guys.
I think as well it speaks to, when your body depletes like that, if you're a bigger guy, you're not doing your normal regime, so you're sort of gone.
Yeah.
My one question about the challenge before we move on is, do you think Sue could have stuck it out and beaten the two boys?
I would have liked Sue to try and beat them, but I guess there's nothing in it.
I know, you're just wrecking your energy, but I reckon she could, like, she looked pretty rock solid that whole time. Like, it did not seem like she moved at all.
So, and she's perfect because she's a small, tight, like light, but she seems to work out a bit and have a bit of strength to her. So that's like the perfect combination for that challenge.
Grabbing that yoke, doing that yaw.
She's used to it. But Kyle's a machine, man. Kyle is honestly painting himself as a bit of a challenge.
Well, that was my big question around this is obviously you don't want to throw a challenge, but when you're feeling safe-ish in these early ones, is it good to maybe not? Because he's pretty deep now. That like you've won 3 in a row, man. Yeah. You can't backtrack from that.
The thing is, he's already put himself out there as someone that can win challenges. So so Tyson in his season that he won, going all the way back to Blood vs. Water, he faked up an arm injury. So when they went to individuals, so he started losing all the individual ones until he was close enough to start winning them. Yeah. And so people weren't seeing him as a threat, like we've got to get rid of Tyson, because in other seasons they've gone, Tyson's really good at this, let's get rid of it. He's actually got a similar body type to Kyle, actually, which is interesting. So Kyle, I think he's painted himself as a massive target, and now he needs to win them, because if he doesn't win them, he's gone.
I think he's really done himself in here that it's not that you want to throw them, but I guess if you've got comfort in your alliance going into that merge, you probably don't need it, but it'd be so hard in those early ones where you kind of don't know where the battle lines are yet to throw it. But now definitely it's like he's done now. I think
he's done now. But see, what was hard for him is because we didn't really have a merge, but we did have a merge, and then we split the tribes. So he won these individual immunities, but he didn't really need to win them. Like all that's done now is just painted a big target on him, because you want to win it. You want to win it in these merge ones where because you don't know where the alliances are. Yeah. At least he knows now that everyone voted with him now and that they went for Garda. So that's good.
What I was going to mention about this one, this feels like the first post-Rome vote. This is the post-Rome vote.
I was going to say that as well.
And
it's
it was
100%.
awesome because it's like, cool, now we're really getting into it. And what I found really interesting about this vote was everyone's still talking along tribal lines, but it's still very quickly like, it's more about your relationships now, guys. Like, you know, Teeny wanting to get into Garda a bit more. And it just really feels like the tribal lines are like this close to breaking down completely. Yeah. And it's just going to be your relationships.
One final thing. Sue basically winning that challenge. Sue's bloody done herself in, mate. So she's not getting any credit for winning as an older woman because she's lied about her age so much that it's like, yeah, a 45-year-old can definitely do that. That's fine. They should win that. But so she's actually getting less credit than she deserves. So good on you, Sue. Good on you, Sue. And then we sort of get to just before the scramble. It's interesting. The vibe check. The vibe check. Both Rachel and Sierra are both standing in camp by themselves, going, something feels weird. And you feel that, and that is your biggest sense that something is going right. When everyone is off talking to everyone else, when you go, well, hang on, the plan is in. We know the plan. Why are all these conversations happening? You know when everyone's settled and everyone's going like, okay, this is it. We're feeling good. There's a few nods. There's a few like, yep. When everyone is still talking and you're in camp by yourself and your gut is telling you this does not feel right, I'm telling you right now, listen to your gut. Like that is the biggest thing. And they should have seen it coming. They should have seen it coming.
Do you think that's also a Survivor experience thing? Like that happens to you once, and if you're a returning player, you know that.
Returning players say that, like Rob Cesternino said that he never felt that when in the Amazon because he came third, and then when he was doing All Stars, he suddenly felt that feeling, and he's like, oh, if I knew that feeling in my previous season, I would have been able to like,
aware of
okay,
it,
I'm going to do something now. But at the time he's like, oh, I'm just being silly. People are just talking, whatever. So I think people that have been voted out that's come back, you have that feeling of people talking about you at camp, I think. But so interestingly, so many crossed wires connections. So let's just break it down for a sec. So it's really important to make those small connections because Sol obviously made the connection with Rachel and wanted to keep her. Teeny made a connection with Sierra, wanted to keep her. Jen wanted Rachel out. Caro wanted Rachel out. Gabe wanted Rachel out. Like they all, like a big part of them, a couple of them wanted to, like Andy obviously wanted either Sierra or Sam out. So it's really hard to come to a consensus vote in that regard. Which
it's
is
interesting that the most of the heat is on Garter. Like it seems like most of the people are seeing them. So in a way, Tuku having that forced vote last week has really actually put them in a much better position.
Oh yeah. And at the end of the day, you've got Andy running around saying, I'm ready to take out Garter. Like if Andy's not there, putting that out there, I think if they're a strong four, I think there's a lot more ability to sort of pull, like you get Teeny in there, suddenly that's 5 and you only need the 2 others and you're like, okay, we can still do this. So it's very interesting when you've got someone actually putting people's names out there and putting targets on you for personal reasons.
What's been interesting in terms of who the targets are, it's felt very much like, oh no, they're really likable and very sociable. Like that seems to be the biggest reason now is everyone really likes them and they're nice.
But everyone knows like Jen and Caro are both, like Caro obviously wants to keep Gabe around as a shield. Jen's like, I'm happy to keep Sam around as a bit of a shield for a bit longer. Like the way that they just talk about the game, this is just how you play Survivor now. This is the meta. But I wonder if we're going to get to a point where the meta is going to shift back and it is going to be like, no, these under the radar sneaky people are actually the ones that we've got to keep an eye out for. And maybe maybe it's going to flip back over. But okay, so who's talked about as a threat? This is a really interesting way to understand who's in a good position in the game. So you've got Gabe says he mentioned Sam's a big threat in the game.
Yep.
Rachel's talked about Caro and Jen are a big threat.
Is Caro being talked about as that much of a threat?
Oh, not as much, but they're definitely on either ends of the spectrum, I think.
Yeah.
Caro knows Jen is a good player now. Andy thinks he's the biggest player in the game.
He's ready to go.
And Kyle's winning a lot, so he's in everyone's. So the people that are still under the radar is, I think Caro's a bit under the radar for most people. I think Teeny's under the radar. Sol seems to be under the radar at this point.
Yeah, so Teeny, because Teeny had such a strong start, and now it's kind of just settled into this middle sort of position now. Like, don't think she's on the bottom, but don't think she's got a lot of power in the tribe at all.
Yeah, it's hard when you don't have any power to make any decisions. And that's going to be really hard come late game when you can't actually when you're in Final Tribal Council and you can't actually put your stamp, all you can say is I survived. That's going to be hard against some other people.
I made fire and I caught fish for the tribe.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the old classic. So these are the sort of the big players. So you've got to look under the surface and who you want to keep around as a shield and who you think you can get rid of. It's interesting, like so many people are like Rachel.
Yeah. And now she's got the idol.
And she's got an idol now, which is perfect for gameplay. So who has an idol? Sue's got an idol and Rachel's got an idol.
Sue was red-handed. So I want to do one of the big things to talk about for the tribal, Rachel's move to use her shot in the dark. How did you see that?
Yes. Chef's. I saw that as her trying to figure out if she needed to use her idol or not and reading reactions. That's what I thought. That's 100% what I thought it is. And I love people playing the shot in the dark in interesting ways. Like people have played it now to hide their vote. So in a tight vote, so they don't have to just show which side of the alliance they're on.
I never wrote your name down.
Exactly. And now people are using it like this to gauge reactions of like, oh, are they happy that I missed it or not? I thought it was fantastic. What did you
definitely
think of
felt like that. Yeah. So it was a case of my vote probably doesn't feel that worth it because if I'm wrong, then the majority's with me. But if I'm right and I'm in danger here, I've potentially saved myself and maybe. But it's got to be that, right? And what do you reckon the reactions you're looking for? Because everyone's going to try and have a poker face, right?
Everyone's going to have a poker face. It's honestly looking for micro changes in people's faces. Yeah. I think by this point in the game, you know who has tells, you know who's a terrible liar, and you know who's going to give away something. There are some people that are great at it. Soul. Like doing his fake out. But I think you should know, and it's the eyebrows, it's people looking at other people.
Constantly sipping from their water bottle, right?
Well, yeah, thank you. But it's people looking at each other, like something happens and then they look at each other going
and
like,
who they look to,
Yes, exactly. So I think that you definitely want to look at that.
I thought it was great.
Rachel, I was wondering on really well.
Yeah, I was like, oh, why are you doing this? It's like, oh, I guess because it's okay. Like that idol is still completely hers. Like nobody knows she has.
No one knows about it.
And it turns out she was right that the winds had changed. It just wasn't on her. So it'd be really interesting to see how she goes from here, knowing that like, oh, I'm under attack now. My alliances aren't as strong as I thought they were.
But what could be beneficial is now Garda isn't seen as a big threat now. It's just Sam and her. She's a bit of a free agent. Do the winds shift back to like Tuku? I've got like the Red Tribe. Sol, Teeny, and Jen, no one's talking about coming for them, really.
No.
Like,
they're talking about using and working with them, really.
Both groups.
Willing to work with them.
And they're just like in the perfect position to do that. Look, right, if those three get through, still think Andy is being set up as like a final getting to the end as well, like final Tribal Council.
I reckon he could make it through.
I think he could make it through. Everyone thinks they're the mastermind of this vote. Like Carrie's like, yeah. I wanted to say that, Jen, and Jen's going, I want to do that. Then Andy's saying, I changed this out. And so, who is going to get the credit for it? You think?
To me, it'll be Caro and Jen's idea, but I reckon it felt like maybe Jen driving it more because they had the sort of choice between going with yellow or going with blue, and then they've sort of made that choice, and it feels like Jen being the driving force behind that rather than. Well, of course, Caroline's going to go for Garda. So it feels like having that choice puts it more in Genevieve's palms, I reckon.
I didn't, the re-vote, when Sam didn't have a vote, so they let Sierra vote?
Yeah.
I didn't like that. Like, I didn't get why. It's just like Sam doesn't have a vote and now Sierra doesn't have a vote. That's fine.
Well, no, because he explained it as because they would just vote, they have no other option but to vote for each other, so they don't vote. But in this case, Sam does not have a vote.
So okay.
In the absence
he did say that, but I was like, no, they just don't.
I kind of agree that it should probably just be
cancel out. That's my feeling anyway.
Yeah, it's like, well, now you just don't get to participate, rather than you can only vote for each other, so you won't vote. Like it's a very specific reading of it. It felt more punitive than it should have been in that situation. The fact that you lost his vote, especially because, like, well, that was the question I was going to ask you. Do you think Sam got screwed a bit by the auction? Or it wouldn't have mattered in the end?
No, So if Sam had a vote, would he been able to be used? Would it have been more beneficial to work with them because they're like, oh, well, they've got an extra vote? Possibly. I do think more often than not, the person without a vote does get voted off. Like it just is. They're not. They can't be used in the vote. They're seen as someone that can't have a sway in the decision making. And I think more often than not, they do get voted. I was really lucky. Do you think they made the right choice getting Sierra out over Sam?
I feel like Sierra's would be better at making connections with other people. I feel Sam would be a bit more lost and not as well. I think you could scoop him up easier and use him more than I think Sierra could outplay you a bit more further down the road. So I think probably I would keep Sam around. And at the moment, he doesn't seem like he's going to go on some streak. Yeah. Feels like there's still plenty of time to getting out. Even if he's annoyed, I don't think there's too many people for him to come at. You know what I mean? It's not like he's like, well, you're my number one now. It's not just one
target, yeah.
So I think it's probably the right decision because I think Sierra was probably too good at being friendly with the others, I think. What do you make of it?
I think she was probably more of a threat. And by the way, the All Girls Alliance has, as I knew it would.
But wouldn't it be great?
Wouldn't it be great in theory? And then
what
they voted
said that in this episode, she's like, but if we go after Tuku, let's get the guys first.
Yeah, and what happens? It's like they mentioned it, and then two women instantly went home back to back, which is wild. But let's get to ruffling of feathers, Joshua.
Oh, certainly.
It was to rustle feathers, ruffle feathers.
So there you go. Who ruffled the most?
I reckon it's gonna be Andy for me tonight.
I had Andy down as well.
Just because he's flipped the script and he's gone to the others and been like, "Let's make something happen. Let's do it." And his gleeful smiles at the tribal, just loving every minute of it.
He's flipped the Shakespearean script that Jeff left lying around.
Yep.
And he's out for blood in
ruffle feathers.
Yeah, thank you. So I think he was definitely rustling and ruffling all his way. But with spin and grin is a little harder because who actually got what they wanted? Who's going to spin and grin, Josh?
For me, it's probably a toss up between Jen and Caroline, and I'd probably say Jen, because there was that moment that struck me as like, no, I don't want to do that. Let's do this instead.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but remember, Jen wanted Rachel.
That's a good point.
Jen and Caro both wanted Rachel, so they actually didn't get who they wanted. So
who's your spin and grin?
Well, this is what I'm trying to figure out. I'm thinking about it because maybe it's
who really wanted Sierra to go home.
This is what I was trying to figure out. Because Teeny didn't.
Like, who was it?
Teeny didn't. Sol wanted to keep Rachel, so I think Sol was happy with.
They got it off. They got it off Rachel. It was people not wanting to get Rachel, not wanting to get Sam. No one actually wanted to get rid of Sierra. They were like, ah.
So maybe is it
Gabe?
Andy? Is it Andy? No. Gabe was like Gabe wanted Rachel as well. I think.
Yeah, I think everyone wanted Rachel. But
so how did it not end up being Rachel?
I don't know. Maybe they thought she might have something, or
I think maybe it was Sue. Sue wanted to break them up. Sue.
Let's go with Sue.
Spinning grin,
and she did spin and grin.
She spun and grun, and I think Sue was the one saying, "I want to break up those two." So you know what? Hell, let's give it to Sue. And by the way,
a very quiet episode for Sue, but let's give it to her.
Let's give it to Sue. No, that's good. That's good. I'm happy with that. Excellent. Well, I think that pretty much does this episode. This is great. The auction, a good vote. We're in
vote.
Yeah.
Very exciting. A lot of things being played, a lot of things happening. But also what I like now is the advantages and the crazy stuff has simmered down a little bit. Yep. And now we're just actually seeing the real proper alliance plays coming through, which is really good to see.
Love it. Okay. We'll see you next time.
Just a reminder before we go, if you do rate us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, it really helps discovery as we're launching these endeavors, and share it with your friends. Yes. Share the clips.
Please share, like and subscribe.
But yeah, because we enjoy doing this. It'd be great to have more people listen.
Have more people listen to it. Good. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Well, we'll see you next week for more Survivor fun.